welcome back. It's Oddschecker and the TalkSPORT Bet crossover, and it's episode 2. It's day 2 now of Royal Ascot that we'll be covering. Look, I said it in episode 1. There's welcome offers that you have to check out with TalkSPORT Bet. If you bet 10, you get £50 worth of bonuses. Terms and conditions, of course, apply. That is worth checking out because there's super boosts littered throughout the week. So get your welcome offer and have a look at the super boost as well. And I say that as I go into day 2. I'm joined, of course, again by Steve and Andy. And I'm going to go straight into it with the Queen Mary Stakes. Now, Zelania looked very smart at Nottingham. Is he going to take all the beating, Steve?
So Andy has some speed figures on her, I'll pass over to Andy to give the negatives on the favourite first before I give mine at a big price.
Yeah, I mean, we've been keeping speed figures now for over a decade, and there's a sort of benchmark, what you're looking for horses going into Royal Ascot to tell you whether they're up to par or slightly below par, need to improve, blah, blah, blah. And based on what she did just off one run, which is, small sample size, she just slightly falls short of the mark. That doesn't mean to say she can't win, she can't improve, because obviously she did it all in hand. But she's a very, very short price, considering there's quite a few other horses in the race who have run beyond the standard. So I'd want to not necessarily take her on, but I'm looking for the horses who are a much bigger price. I think because she is a 6-4 favourite, there's incredible value to be had elsewhere. We don't know the draw either as well on the day. She could get drawn on the wrong side. So at the moment, that is a one to avoid at the price. I like a horse trained by George Scott called Stayer, who ran a good time figure first time out at Yarmouth. Not in keeping with how George's horse has been running this season. They've always needed to run the T-Rolls. They've come on for the second run. She booked that trend by winning first time out. The only horse of George Scott's to win first time out, which was not necessarily a massive surprise because she had been going really well at home. But it's still, all the same, still nice for her to go and do the job. All her data was very good. The time figure was very good. Her top speed was very good, and her finishing speed percentage, which means at the back end of the race compared to the overall, she was just as strong at the end as she was at the start. So she's got a lot of attributes you look for a Royal Ascot Queen Mary horse, and she's available to back at 12-1. Much more appetising and appealing than it would be to back Zelania. So that would be my advice at this stage. Zelania, a shortest price, probably be bigger on the day, but I think Stayer's good each way value alternative at 12s.
Well, I like it because there's receipts there, there's facts and figures, and you've gone for the value, and I can commend you for it. Yeah, no, I like it. With that being said, Steve, are you not of the same opinion, or are you of the same opinion?
I'll be looking to take on the favourite. I like one of a wild price here called Cardiff by the Sea. She's around 25-1. We touched on the day one preview, the form lines with Charles Darwin. When we spoke about the Coventry Stakes, he might well run in the Norfolk Stakes. If he does run in the Coventry Stakes, you might get a form boost for Cardiff by the Sea. So basically, she was a 320,000 guineas breeze-up purchase, half-sister to the smart Al Qudra, who was beaten around a length in the Coventry Stakes last year. So bred to do the job by St Mark's Basilica, so should stay further in time, but she had plenty of pace on debut. If you go back and watch the race, Charles Darwin had the benefit of 2 runs prior to that run, was sent off 1-14. So if you put £14 on, you've only won £1. And she would have given favourite backers a bit of a scare there. She travelled well into the race, looked a big danger, and then probably just inexperience meant that he went on at the finish. She Murphy's booked for the ride. We've had maidens win these sort of juvenile races. I know Rashabar won the Coventry last year.
Yeah, has that happened in the? I don't know if it's happened in the Queen Mary.
No, but she basically is going in with 1 run, finished second, but it was a really good second, and I thought she was overpriced at 25-1.
Yeah, okay, worth reading into that. Yeah, I completely agree. Interesting as I go into the Prince of Wales Stakes here. Los Angeles and Anmat again. Los Angeles got the better last time out. I suppose the low-hanging fruit question is will the same happen again, Andy?
A lot depends on the conditions on the day. As it stands, we're looking as though we're going to get a very favourable forecast for next week. Great for the ladies, but sometimes not necessarily ideal for some of the trainers who have horses who like a lot of ease underfoot and want to drop a rein. 2 in this race in particular. Amnart would be the chief horse who won a little bit of ease in the ground. He won on Champions Day towards the back end of last season when the ground was soft, and Los Angeles underachieved. But on quicker ground, there's a chance that could be turned around because Los Angeles has looked really good on fast ground on his 2 starts so far this season. He definitely sets the standard. He's the right favourite. He's beat the right horses. And if Amnart doesn't run, I think his current price could get even shorter. I think he's in and around the 2-1 mark. There's a few other horses to factor in. We've got Map of Stars from France, who ties in with a horse called Swazi, who's top class. He's definitely going to be a player. Steve's probably got a nice line or two on him. Ombudsman, he ran as though he might just need the run first time out in the Brigadier Gerard. And he represents that form line because the one who won that race doesn't run because of the ground conditions. So he could be an each-way alternative. But if Amnart doesn't run, then Los Angeles will probably win. But like I say, if you're looking for something to back each way, and there's many that will be looking to do that, then Ombudsman could be the value alternative.
Yeah, I like it. Prince of Wales, thoughts?
Yeah, interesting that they've supplemented See the Fire. I think it's cost about 70 grand in order to do that, but I not quite think that she's up to this Group 1 level against the Colts. I fully respect Los Angeles. I've been really impressed with him. Looked the type to progress as a 4-year-old last season. Was a really solid 3-year-old behind City of Troy. But actually, he's changed my opinion of him. I thought he'd struggle over 10 furlongs, but he's looked a really improved performer so far this season. So I thought he was a worthy favourite. I'd have ground reservations around Anmart. I was at Lingfield on Wednesday, overheard Owen Burrows. He's really worried about the ground. He has had form on Good to Firm previously, but they're slightly worried around injuries and things. So I'm not sure he'll run. I don't think White Birch will run either on the ground. So I thought the obvious each-way alternative was Map of Stars, like Andy said. Won 5 of his 7 starts. His 2 defeats came over under Mikel Barcelona. On both of those occasions, in the Racing Post comments, there was not clear run and short of room, so didn't quite get the run of those races. James Doyle, who's the retained rider for Wathnan Racing, will take over. He went over to France a couple of times earlier this season in order to get to know the horse. Won impressively on both of those. I thought he was unlucky against Sosi in the Gannet. That horse is favourite for the Arc later on in the season. I thought that's really, really good form. He's 4-1 with TalkSPORT Bet at the time of recording. 3 places each way. I don't think there's going to be 8 runners on the day, so I'd happily back Map of Stars each way. Current odds and current place terms.
Okay, I like that. It's worth saying again, seeing as Los Angeles has come up, that I've said there's littered with Super Boost TalkSPORT Bet next week, and Los Angeles is going to be one of them. So again, get that welcome offer. If you're already signed up with TalkSPORT Bet, keep your eyes peeled on that one, because again, that'll be a nice super boosted price for you. And it's glaringly obvious, by the way, Anmart, I butchered it with my Brummy action and Matmai, just don't worry about it. So,
I could be right there with you, but that's Boston or...
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to go to the Royal Hunt Cup. What are your initial thoughts about this race, Andy?
Draw.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be crucial. 32 runners, I think, maximum, isn't it, the Royal Hunt Cup?
30.
Or 30. And by midway through Wednesday, we should get some idea how it's playing out, whether it's favoured towards the stand side rail, the high numbers, or the low numbers on the over on the far side. Usually speaking, you want to be drawn quite close to a rail, because if you're kind of like drawn in the middle, you end up having to race on the outside of a pack and you've got no cover, you're a little bit marooned, and you have to take back at the start, whereas the ones that are drawn high just run in a straight line, save ground, and I think it is of some benefit. So there was obviously got to come with a fair amount of leeway with what we're saying here, or an asterisk by their name. I think Stakuza, he's definitely got to be on the short list. A horse trained by Ed Dunlop. He was second to Mickley last year in the 3-year-old version of the Royal Hunt Cup, which is called the Britannia Handicap, which is run later on in the week. So he's already well versed to running over the straight track here at Ascot and running at a very high standard. And he continued that theme with a win over the straight mile at the Curragh last time out. He took a while to hit top speed that day, but once he got into his top paces, he was really good. He hit the line very strong. Ryan Moore rode him that day. Not sure whether Ryan Moore rides him at Ascot, but if he does, his current price is around about 10-1 on contract even further. So I won't overcomplicate. We're talking about too many of the horses in the race, because he's my number 1 choice. Course and distance form with Stakuza, very strong in the Royal Hunt Cup.
I like it. Steve, where do your eyes immediately get drawn to with this race then?
Volterra.
Okay.
For me, really progressive 4-year-old. Was sent off joint favourite for that Britannia that Andy just mentioned last year. Didn't really figure that day, but then actually showed the liking for the track, bolting up in the Challenge Cup over 7 furlongs here at the end of last season. If you haven't seen that performance, go and watch it, and you will not be impressed. Double negative there. Beat a solid yardstick in Kirat. He's always here in these big field Ascot handicaps. Beat him by 3 1/4 lengths that day. They ran him in the John O'Gaunt on his reappearance at Haydock. That was his first time at group level That's a Group 3 over 7 furlongs. Helped set a strong pace that day. Finishing speed percentage was quite low that day. They went hard, just got slightly tired late on. That was his first run as well, so he could improve fitness-wise. Was 2 lengths behind 10 Bob Tony and Kinross. Now, because this is an early closer as a handicap, he was rated 103 that day. The handicappers reassessed him and rated him to a mark of 108. But because it's an early closer, he gets to run off 103, so he's £5 well in at the weights. So if he was running in an ordinary Saturday handicap, he'd be carrying more weight than what he would in this race at Royal Ascot. I'm hoping that tempts them to take the chance, dropping back out of group company into a handicap. Has Ascot form, and yeah, 8-1. As long as he's drawn well, he's uncomplicated, he'll be towards the head of affairs, and I thought he was rock solid.
Oh, I like it. A few variables there, but I like what you're doing. Okay, Windsor Castle is the final big race that we're going to cover here. Now, Havana Hurricane ran absolute blinder at Epsom. Is that immediately who you've got to look at for this one?
For me, it is, yeah. Ran a brilliant race in the Woodcut at Epsom. The thing to note there is that it was over 6 furlongs. Havana Hurricane won at Goodwood over 5 furlongs on his debut. Goodwood's a really tricky track to win at on debut. A horse has to be really balanced and a good horse to win there on debut. They stepped him up to 6 furlongs in the Woodcut. It just simply didn't stay. Just go back and watch it. Looked and came alongside, maximised, just it maybe even led and got ahead 2 furlongs out that day and then just weakened towards the finish. Eve Johnson-Horton has been a trainer who's targeted this race. She's been well documented about not liking the changes going forward for this race because she does target it with her horses around sort of 14-1 or something like that. I thought Havana Hurricane was a good each way bet in the Windsor Castle, but there's lots of unexposed ones here, but I thought the drop in trip and the fact that he's got that extra bit of experience from Epsom last weekend would suit him well.
Yeah, fair. Windsor Castle for you, again, same line of thinking? Or?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'd be against Havana Hurricane as such, but I wasn't overly struck with that Woodcut form. It was a very, very slow time figure. Probably one of the worst ones we've had in recent memory, that Woodcut, so I'm not sure the strength of the form is that good.
Okay.
I think there's much classier horses and better horses than him in this year's renewal. I think what I found in recent times with the Windsor Castle is everyone seems to be dodging the Norfolk, because they always think, because the Norfolk's a Group 2 and this is a listed race that,
I've got you.
that will come here instead. But everyone's got the same way of thinking. So you end up getting to a point where it backfires on a lot of connections, because you look at the Windsor Castle, you think, Jesus, how on earth are we going to win this race? Whereas it ends up being like 6 or 7 runners in the Norfolk, and you're better off going into that. And that's the case this year. I mean, it's full of a whole host of horses who run big numbers and got loads of potential. Two for me at big prices are on my shortlist. One of them called Shaman Champion, trained by Richard Hughes. He clocked a really good number when he won first time at Leicester, and he hasn't run since. So this has obviously been the plan. Yeah. I think he's better than what the market suggests. And interesting, George Scott has training Newmarket's bought a horse called Gaga Mate, who formerly was with Dylan Cunha. He won at Catterick first time out, but he clocked a very big time for a 2-year-old that day. He ran much quicker than the older sprint handicappers on the card. He was eased down. He beat a good guideline called Home Straight, who'd been running well in some good northern 2-year-old races. And I think he could easily improve. And they're like 25-1 and 20-1 respectively.
Gosh, wow. So
if those two run in, it looks like they will, because they're both jocked up, and they get the right draw on the day, then I'll be having a serious look at those two, Gaga Mate and Shaman Warrior.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be looking at them as well. Don't worry about that. And again, with that being said, those are the main races covered. But I am going to throw it to you guys. Is there anything else that you're looking at on the day? Steve, I'll start with you.
Yeah, in the Queen's Vase, I like Karmas for Paddy Toomey, around 10-1. This would be a really good story. So Paddy Toomey hasn't trained a winner at Ascot, let alone Royal Ascot. So it'd be a good story. If you look at it, he started off in a Ballon Robe maiden on the 9th of May. Real low-key, was green as grass that day, still won, was well supported, won the listed Yates Stakes at Navan only 8 days later when sent off 6-4 under Billy Lee. Looks a really strong stayer. Doesn't do a whole lot in front, hence why he's ran in blinkers on his 2 starts, but looks to be the type that just keeps on finding. This is a mile and 6, he'll definitely get the trip, and I thought he was probably overpriced at around 10-1, so Karma's in the Queen's Vase. And I thought the Duke of Cambridge was an interesting renewal this year. I thought there were plenty of question marks around a few in here. Cinderella's Dream looked really good in the Dahlia Stakes on 1,000 Guineas Day, beating El Malka and Beautiful Love, but I didn't have that down as the strongest form. I'd probably take a chance on Fallen Angel. She ran in that really hot lock-in stakes that we touched on in the Queen Anne preview with the likes of Rosalien, Notable Speech, Lead Artist, Dancing Gemini. Now, she finished 6th, beaten under 6 lengths that day. But if you look back at her form, she was actually finished 8th, beaten 5 lengths in the 1,000 Guineas on her reappearance last year. Took a huge step forward from that and won the Irish 1,000 Guineas on her next start. So hopefully she takes that step forward again fitness-wise this year. If you look at her form after that, she finished 2nd in the Matron Stakes behind Porta Fortuna, who was unbelievable last year, and then 4th behind Friendly Soul in the Opera on Arc Day. So forgive one poor run, and I thought she was probably the one to beat in this, and she's around 4 to 1. And then just one in the same race would be Soprano. She won the Sandringham handicap at the meeting last year. Proved that she was a handicap good thing that day. She went on to finish 3rd behind Porta Fortuna and Fallen Angel in that Matron Stakes later on in the season. So she proved that she is a group filly. She beat Crimson Advocate at Kempton on her reappearance to prove her well-being, and she's around 12 to 1. So in the Duke of Cambridge, I'll be back in Fallen Angel around 4s and an each-way saver on Soprano.
Oh, I like it. A combination of an upward trajectory there, some stories in there as well. And we love a story, so I like what you're doing. Andy, anything for you on the day that you're looking at?
Well, it's interesting that what Steve's point he raised there with Paddy Toomey in general, because he quite likes Karmas. Now, Paddy Toomey's I'll say up-and-coming burgeoning trainer in Ireland. Not, he's not a rookie trainer, but he's created a real good name for himself in the last 2 or 3. Stocks rising. That's a good term. But he doesn't waste many bullets. He's not one of those trainers that would just have a recreational run or send one over just for the fun of it. He doesn't have that many runners at Royal Ascot. He's quite happy just to stay on home soil in Ireland, does his due diligence. He's a very pragmatic trainer. He wouldn't come over here and just think, oh yeah, we'll run that for the sake of it. He'd only bring one over here if he genuinely thought he would win. So Karma's obviously got to be on the short list. But he also runs a horse called One Look in the race that Steve's mentioned there in the Duke of Cambridge without thickening the pot. She finished 2nd to Porta Fortuna last time out in Ireland. And that was a really good performance. Their best performance so far in her career. So much so that he's prepared to roll the dice by the looks of it and bring her over. And for you Bruno Mars fans, there's a horse called Treasure.
Oh,
that runs in the Kensington Palace. She got beat by a very smart filly of Willie Haggis's the other day called Supermodel, who's running later on in the week. It's bound to be a popular choice with the ladies, of course, on Ladies' Day perhaps. But that was an incredible time figure. And that Treasure was trying to give Supermodel 2 stone weight for age, 4-year-old against a 3-year-old, which seemed an impossible task, was an impossible task. And she's owned by the King himself. So hats off to the King if Treasure won the 5:35, the Kensington Palace.
Oh, I like that. I was wondering what song it was going to be there. It was Uptown Funk I was hoping for, but we've gone Treasure.
It was Bruno Mars, wasn't it? Treasure,
yes,
I think it was.
yeah. Treasure.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you. Okay, right. With that being said, we've covered the races. We've covered what your eyes are on as well, away from the main races. It's that time again where I get your nap of the day. Steve, let me start with you. What's a nap of day 2?
We should start doing this where you need to guess, and then you can then see how confident you actually think we are when we're making our case. It'd be Volterra for me in the Royal Hunt Cup at 8 to 1. Just if you go back and watch that Challenge Cup victory over 7 furlongs, I doubt you will not back him for this race.
Okay, yeah. Andy?
Oh, I was hoping he wouldn't go for that race because my nap's in that.
Oh, I like it though.
Head to head. I'm going to go with Stakuza.
Oof, okay.
He's just the kind of horse I like backing in the Hunt Cup. Something that's already proven over the track. Looks as though he's got his preparation spot on with that victory at the Curragh. If he gets a good draw on the day and Ryan Moore rides, then be more than hopeful he'll do okay.
Lovely.
So Stakuza for me.
Okay, well, you've been listening, you've been taking your notes. I will tell you that both of these guys' naps are linked in the description below. So we've done all the hard work for you. So go check the description, click on the link and it will take you straight to them. And with all that being said, that is day 2 covered with oddschecker and TalkSPORT Bet. Episode 3, day 3 will be coming at you as well. So stay tuned for that one.